would be my honor to share with you the findings from the report that we have conducted during the in March and April. And I will explain the title of my presentation later because it can be confusing to some of the people, or at least that is the feedback that I received from my team. But here, just a snapshot about the report. So we ran this report right after we had the discussion with LinkedIn. Yeah, because earlier this year, Navigos Search entered into a partnership agreement with LinkedIn with the purpose of improving our qualities and support you better in finding the talents in Vietnam and in the region. So one of the initiatives including in the partnership program is that LinkedIn will support us with an event, sending the attractive speakers from LinkedIn. And we talk about what would be the topics that LinkedIn would like to share to Vietnamese audience. Then we found that, okay, LinkedIn just had the survey, right? On gender diversity. Well, in Navigos Search, it's not really a big problem for us in terms of gender diversity because I don't know this by chance or not, but we have a big team of women in Navigos Search. So this is the report, the survey that we would love to hear more from the Vietnamese companies, the international companies that are operating in Vietnam. We sent out our survey to the candidates and companies in the database held by Navigos Group, in both Vietnam Works and Navigos Search. And we received over 1,000 responses. And 80% of the respondents were female. And they, in terms of seniorities, then actually you can see that around 90% of the respondents are at the manager level and above. So we check and we ask our respondents about their opinions about their practice in the companies around gender diversity. And today I would like to pick one part of this report just to share with you on the narrower topics, that is the women leadership, actually women in the top leader levels. But first of all, what would be the status of the diversity, the gender diversity in Vietnam? When we ask our respondents and evaluate their opinions about the impact of having gender diversities in their companies, and here is the answer. With gender diversity, obviously they can see that, our respondents can see that there are a lot of benefits by, having gender diversity in place. First and foremost, with the companies that has the more like balanced genders or have the diversified team, they think that they can solve problems more effectively. They have the abilities to deal and to work with the diversified group of clients, and especially with gender diversity, especially for the HR team, they feel that it would be easier for them to attract and retain people, to retain talents from their company. And of course, with gender diversity, the company's culture can be enhanced and developed much more effectively. So these would be the key findings that we got from the opinions from our respondents. Now, we also want to understand why women are working so hard in Vietnam to get promotion, to move up. And from the comments from our clients, especially the people outside of Vietnam, their observation is always that, okay, how come Vietnamese women are working so hard? Sorry, the men's in the room. But the fact is that the women in Vietnam, they are really want to move up and work their way up. And when we ask our respondents, then we find that passion and the desire to improve themselves are the two key drivers for the women in Vietnam to try to work and to earn the higher positions in the organizations. Okay? Not really money or fame, whatever, but the passion to the job and the desire for self-improvement. So that would be the two interesting points that we can consider when we are putting in place the programs that support the women to grow in your company. Well, this is the reality. Although we all know that gender diversity can help a lot with the business, you know, and also like Scott mentioned, the other companies around the world already realize the importance of this strategy. Here in Vietnam, we still have quite low number of females in the top leadership level. 68% of our respondents shares that, you know, in their companies, at the positions at the middle and senior level in their companies, they still have below 40% are female. You know. In some of the other industries like IT or manufacturing, this number would be even lower. Okay? And to help us understand more about this and find out what would be the key strategy for us to enable women to grow up further, we would like to go through a few kind of analysis of what would be the women in leadership positions look like, right? First, we can see that they are actually present in most of the C-level, and especially in HR or finance. They are, you know, the number of women leaders are higher. Just very few on the managing director positions or CEO positions, yeah. And we also see that it's by chance or the social perception is that there are certain job functions that meant to be just for women. Yeah. So we have more people, more ladies in the management, top management level at HR and accounting, but we still have a lot of other functions with only 10%, you know, with the, of the women's in keeping on the leadership role. And one interesting point that we have found from the reports is that you can see that these are the strengths of the female leaders in the companies that our respondents share. And here the blue bars show the areas for improvements, or we can call that weakness. But we can see here, women seems to be, you know, to be evaluated that they are very good in strategy execution, you know, implementing the strategy, very good. But strategy development or creating the strategy seems to be still an areas for women to improve if they want to pursue the top leadership role. And this is also the reality in Vietnam. If you want to attract the talented, the female talents, okay, please pay attention to allow them to contribute, allow them to use their skills, okay, and they can, you know, stay in the companies and contribute more, much more effectively. Now, if with all of this, the portrait of the female leadership, we also came down to see how we can enable women in Vietnam to grow up to the leadership positions. This is, again, the status in Vietnam now. Only 13% of our respondents share that their companies do have the plans to develop female into the higher positions, okay? And only 8% share that, you know, the plan to grow up female leaders is in the top, the top priorities of their strategy. So meaning that the companies in Vietnam still do not quite pay attention on the formal way of developing women leadership. And when we think about, you know, what would be the barriers, what stop women from growing up and getting further, we also came across the phenomenon that we call that the glass ceiling, you know. Because, you know, I believe that not any companies put in place any discrimination policies or strategy to stop women to grow up into the top leadership level. However, women in Vietnam still face a lot of the unconscious bias that we can have a look deeper here. First, in our perception, we don't think that STEM is suitable for women, okay? Because we can say that, you know, even 87% of our respondents share that STEM is not suitable for ladies. You know, although we do have very significant lady GM, GD in the factories or in the ICT companies. Right? Another thing, women are meant to be for mainly on professional services, industry or financial services, you know. And one thing is that even among this group of industries, we can see that is the number of women in the top management position is still quite low. Here I think that you all have seen and worked with the auditing firms, right? How many female partners do you see in the Big Four firms? Okay. And even, you know, in our companies, we are very proud that we have a lot of females sitting in the management team. But when I joined the board meeting, the BOD meeting with our bosses in Japan, I feel quite lonely because I'm the only one. I'm the only lady sitting in the room with all of the males around me. And when I come to the country managers meetings, you know, for our group network in Asia Pacific, myself and my colleagues in Thailand, the country manager in Thailand, always are the two females in the room full of male. And we are in professional service industry, right? So that means that we still have a lot of things to do. Like Scott said, you know, we are still in the progress of making this happen. We have also faced the glass ceiling, you know, in the perception of the men and women in terms of, you know, what would be the, whether or not ladies can be in the leaders' positions or take more time to become a leaders. And then also, women are normally, and especially in Vietnam, attached with the ideas of family and society. And always, you know, we are kind of always live with the sentence that men make house, women make home. Although I think that nowadays this house and homes actually the task of both genders, not just men or female. And we have two questions to our respondents, you know, and quite interesting to see the perception at the workplace from both genders. Don't forget that we have male participating in our survey as well, right? So when we asked about, you know, how they feel about the competition between the two genders in the companies, in their current companies, right? So only 8% of the female respondents said that they feel the competition in the workplace. Whereas we have 14% of male respondents say that they feel that competition. What does that mean? That means that men are actually feeling more about the needs of competing with female in the workplace. Sorry, I just a little bit over-exaggerate, elaborate that, but this is the information that we get from the report. And one more thing is about the promotion opportunities. So we have 44% of male respondents share that they feel that the promotion opportunities are actually equal, not very, they feel that there is certain difference in terms of, the opportunities for male and female in promotion. But we have 52% of female respondents say yes. They feel that there is certain so-called discrimination or unfair opportunities in promotion and career development. So that is the perception from the two genders at the companies. And the reality is that only 4% of the companies participating in our survey do have the training policies to help women in leadership roles. And also one more thing that we found out, another areas of the glass ceiling that we are facing nowadays is that, again, women are meant to be for the family. Okay? And we have here still 56% of the respondents agree that men has more freedom than women because women have so many duties and responsibilities with their families. Okay. And I think that you may all get used to the situation where we meet with some senior leaders, female leaders, and the first question in Vietnam that people often ask is about the family and the curiosities on how she can manage to be the leaders and also have the good families at the same time. So that would be the reflection of the social perception on the role of the female, of the ladies in the workplace. And one more thing, the glass ceiling is also created by the women themselves. We are obsessed by the ideas that we have to be perfect. We have to be good at everything, good at the job, good at the relationship with the employees, good at the family, have to be a good wife, have to be a good mother. So everything, we have to be a super person. And that creates the very heavy pressure on the women themselves. Sorry, I would just pass this on. And from our survey, we also found out that, the challenges for women, and this is the perception from both sides, men and female, men and women participating in our survey, is that, the challenge for women in the leadership role is, number one, is empowerment. Scott just had a kind of a deep explanation earlier on empowerment for women, right? If we want to implement the gender diversity in the companies, the perception of the promotion opportunities limitation is also another challenge for women. Lack of mentors and advisors for women, probably also because women somehow also need to have a lot of support mentally to overcome their challenges in work, in life, in order to be more successful in their role. Again, the pressure from work-life balance, and we often have the extreme ideas or opinions or definition about work-life balance. We have to be very equal for both components of life like that. And that created a lot of pressure for women, like I mentioned earlier. and the perception of women's role in the family. I just want to stop here a little bit just to share from my own bad experience. And this more or less like the advice for all the ladies in the room as well. You know, if you are looking forward to having a very perfect solutions for your work life, your family and work, and if you want to do it alone, and you want to do it by all means to prove that you are capable equally like men, the pressure would actually turning back on you a lot, and it would stop you to go even further. 18 years ago, or actually to be more exact, 19 years ago, yeah, I had that kind of problems. I was in such an ambition, you know, I had such an ambition, and I tried so much to really, really want to prove that I can be a very strong general director. Wow, 19 years ago, right? At that time, I was still young, right? But then because I did it too much, and I didn't ask for support. I didn't ask for help from my family, from my friends, from my colleagues, and I just tried to prove myself. And I went into a very bad sickness, almost killed me at that time. And if for those of you, if you have by chance read any some articles about my challenge, my personal life challenge at that time, I think that earlier this year or last year, there were a few articles about that, that I went over the lupus sickness. Then you would see how dangerous it is if you really want to earn your way up without the support system, right? Without any help. Don't underestimate the value of the people around you, and then you would need to really be more practical in finding your way up. Yeah. And with that, then we would, I just want to look at how we in Vietnam can starting the journey to the gender diversity, and then also the empowerment for the women to grow up in the companies. Bearing in mind that for the companies and businesses, we all already know that there are a lot of benefits of having the gender diversity in your top management of the companies, where you can have more people-centric strategy that help growing up your business, but at the same time, retain your top talents and engage your team. So the key thing is that whether or not we should start thinking about this strategy, because at the moment, from our report, from our survey, we find that there are just like 50-50 opinions about, you know, the determination to implement gender diversity, because 50% of the companies want to commit, and around 50% would be I don't commit or I don't know, right? So first thing first, start changing ourselves. Think about that. Think about the policies, the strategy that we can put in place to nurture the women's development. Then, we would love to, well, I think we should focus on these 3 areas. Number 1, build a fair environment. You know, in assessment, giving the fair chance for women to prove themselves, to contribute, and then to grow up and have the opportunities to grab the leading positions. Well, I know that the reality is that we still, you know, women, we still have to work twice as hard, you know, than men in order to gain the recognition in the workplace. But if that is the reality, then let it be, right? Just try. Accept the difference. The tone from the top would be very important. If we accept that, we recognize diversity, we accept the differences, not just in opinions, in the different approach to business, but also in gender, then it would be a more healthy environment for all of us. And then, last but not least, reinforce the culture of inclusion. Respect all of the differences in the companies, engage with each other, and create the sense of belongings to all of your members in the companies. That would help, not just, just helping women, but it's actually helping the whole organization. The company can do a lot of things, but we ourselves, men in the room, ladies in the rooms, I think that all of us will need to start changing from outside. We need to let go the unconscious bias. Don't think that this job can only be done by men, that job can only be done by women, Just open up. Don't think about any gender barriers. And then we can see the miracle happens when people can actually expose and use their strengths to do a lot of good things for our organizations. All right, but last but not least, female. Our own, it would have to come from our own self, right? Again, I promise to explain to you the title of my presentation, Leap, and the net will appear. Well, I don't urge you to just close your eyes and leap and wishing for a miracle happen, that some net would appear to catch you. No. This means that if you really want to move up, if you really want to become a leader, if you really want to contribute to the companies, using all of your strengths, just take the chance. Just work hard. Go up, become vocal. Contribute to your company's business. Contribute to your company's strategy. Show your strength. Don't wait for other people to nurture us. Don't wait for other people to create the training opportunities for us. Don't wait for others to recognize us. Earn their respect by our hard work, right? Just accept the fact that we have certain kind of unconscious bias still existing in the market, right? Still existing in this society. Just let it be. We cannot change it. We can only give the impact for the people to actually recognize that we do have that strength. And lift and the net will appear, meaning that please have the courage to take the challenge. Have the courage to take the challenging opportunities or challenging tasks to actually grow yourself. So with that, I would like to end my sharing of Navigos Search report, and we would love to summarize in a very short clip here.